Wait, no. Clark. Welcome to Truro, Nova Scotia, inside the gymnasium at Cobequid Educational Centre. It's the Eastern Canadian Basketball League. It's a rematch of yesterday's game over in Charlottetown. The Charlottetown Power down the stretch took the lead, held on to it 99-97. Power got the win over Truro, handing Truro their first loss. So a rematch today, a chance for a little revenge for the Truro Tide. But first to Charlottetown. I had a chance to talk to their head coach, Lonnie States, about what was working yesterday and what they need to do today. Coach, your Charlottetown Power squad handed the Truro Tide their first loss of the season. You're back in their gym now, less than 24 hours later. What are a couple of keys for your guys to make it 2 in a row?
The keys to our guys to making it 2 in a row is to staying true and focused and positive to our concept of playing Charlottetown Power basketball.
Coach, thanks for this. Good luck today.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Coach. On the flip side, I had a chance to talk to Truro head coach Pat Havard about what they need to do today to get back in the win column. Coach, you played this Charlottetown team less than 24 hours ago. A tough 99-97 loss for the first loss on the season. What do you want to see different and perhaps better from your side today?
Well, I mean, just better defensive effort. I think our big thing is we want to get short up on the defensive end, play a little stronger there, and make sure we stay together as a team on offense and on both ends, really. Play unselfishly, play for each other. That's our goal today.
Coach, thanks for this and good luck.
Hey, thank you.
We are just about set for tip-off of this game on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Truro, Nova Scotia, the hub town in Colchester County, about an hour north of the capital city of Halifax, the Halifax Regional Municipality. The Charlottetown Power come into this game 6-4. Again, they're coming off that big 99-97 victory yesterday over at the Eastlink Center in Charlottetown. And that was the first loss on the season for the Truro Tide, who were 9-0 before yesterday. They are now 9-1, and they are looking for the get back here today. You know that they want to get back in the win column and get a little revenge here against the Power for taking that O away. And I'll step aside, let the PA announcer take away player introductions. Just about set for tip-off. Teams getting ready at the center court logo. It'll be the big man in the middle for the Truro Tide, Khalil Miller. He gets ready to tip off against Marcellus Taliaferro. Taliaferro had a big game yesterday for the Power in that 99-97 win. Tide control from the tip. Getting the ball to Osavian Buckner. That went off of Miller's hands. Miller gets it right back. Hands it over to Buckner from the sideline, steps back, launches, That's a great start for the Tide and for Oh-So Buckner, hitting the 3-ball to get the Tide off to a good start. And again, talking to a couple of Tide players before this one, they were anxious to get on the floor and to get one back here against the Power. And well, for the Charlottetown Power, as you see Adam Stanford hit the short-range jumper, they want to make it 2 in a row here against the Truro Tide. They played them tough yesterday, did the Power, and they want to get one on the road here. Here's Buckner, little handoff to Gonzalez. J.P. Gonzalez had that swatted away. Good hands there from Zach Hinton. Up high. Q Gibson backs down the defender. Top of the key. Shot was short. And the rebound goes to the Power. This is KV Myricks. Myricks, little dish off to the side. Move, corner 3, and that's drained. Calling up long distance, says Adam Stanford, and he got an answer on the other end. So both teams picking up right where they left off. No feeling out process. These two teams hooked up less than 24 hours ago in Charlottetown, and they're back at it here on a Sunday afternoon. Miller from the elbow skims it across the top of the cylinder, and it's rebounded well there by the Power. This is Myricks. Myricks had 10 points in that game yesterday for the Power. Hands it off there to Stanford. Got to talk to the Charlottetown Power about the purple numbers on the black jerseys. Not easy to see as Gonzalez steals and goes coast to coast. Lays it in with the left hand. That's just a play-by-play person thing. You know, we like to see the contrast between the jersey color and the number color. Even though I'm up close, some of them are hard to see, so bear with me. Little bounce pass down low. Buckner getting tangled up and now perhaps having some words there with Zach Hinton. And hopefully cooler heads will prevail. You know that the intensity would have carried over from yesterday. Again, it's one thing to have a back-to-back. It's another thing when the back-to-back is less than 24 hours, more like about, 16 hours between the two. So yesterday's contest certainly very fresh in the minds of all the players here this afternoon. Should mention as well, 2 key members of the Tide with some nagging things going on, not in the lineup. So number 23, Tyler Scott, and Tyrone Watson. A couple of key cogs in the engine, not being able to hit the floor for the Tide this afternoon. But you've got to have that next player up mentality, and I'm sure the Tide realize that. Nico Abeda, number 1 for the Tide, seeing some minutes here early on. Had a chance to talk to the young man from Tucson, Arizona, by way of New Mexico. And that one good from the line. Jordan Holness shooting free throws. A really nice crowd here on hand on a Sunday afternoon, and just kind of to myself, I wondered, hey, it's the weekend, it's an afternoon. We've been waiting for some really nice weather because we had a big stretch of kind of cool, damp weather. Would people be at the park and barbecuing this afternoon? Well, guess what? Great turnout here at CEC this afternoon as Gonzalez takes it in strong. And there's Khalil Miller to clean up the glass and get the little put-back bucket. 7-7 tie game. Just a couple of minutes into this opening quarter. Some nice handles there. Taking it right through the lane, through a couple of defenders, was Jordan Holness. So that's the second foul on Abeda already. So Nick the Fish swimming in the personal foul waters right now. And that free throw from Holness. Nothing but net on the first. He'll try to connect here and make it a good trip. 2 for 2. Fans trying to distract Holness. And they'll feel good about the fact that maybe they affected that second one. Good work by Abeda down on the floor. Then Miller picked up the loose ball, but it's stolen away by Holness. And then we'll see the last call, or the call is last touched, I believe, by the Tide. 8-7 the score. Power in front. Charlottetown, as mentioned off the top, 6-4 on the air. Truro Tide 9-1. Inbound by Myricks. Gonzalez watching the inbound, but they get it onto the floor, no problem. Holness steps in, lifts, fires, and the rebound hugged there by Khalil Miller. And Abeda, nice pass up the sideline. Q Gibson, catch and shoot, and it's good for Q Gibson. A triple puts the Tide in front by 2. Gonzalez now defending on Myrick's. Myrick's takes it in on the angle, lays it high off the glass. Battle for it underneath, and it's J.P. Gonzalez flying in, grabbing the rebound, and now it's Abeda. Nico Abeda up ahead to Osavian Buckner. Buckner dribbles into the defense, bounce pass. Miller had it taken away in the paint. Down the floor with the little finger roll lay-in. Hinton couldn't get it to finish. Back the other way. Buckner around one defender. Just from the side, a little 12-foot jump shot off the mark. Loose ball, a couple of players down to the floor, and the Power will gather. Nice lead pass up ahead. There's another catch and shoot at the other end, and it's Taliaferro money on that particular shot. Back and forth they go. Both these teams going at it right away, and there's good hands and a steal from Myrick's. Takes it away. Number 1 for the Power, took it away from number 1 on the Tide, and Myrick's with the little lay-in, and the Power lead by 3. Gibson from the other side. Rebounded there off the miss, and the Power will bring it up the floor. Great pace early in this one. It's almost like the 5th quarter of the same game. Again, if you're just joining us, these two teams played less than 24 hours ago in Charlottetown, and look at the work from Taliaferro, contorting his body underneath the basket and getting the deuce. Gonzalez, slow dribble now, takes into the defense, tried to hand it off to Miller. Power got a hand on that. Abeda bounces it to Khalil Miller, the big man, using that wingspan, goes in against the defender, spins one way, put it up, shot was no good. Here come the Power the other way. Holness lets it fly just off to the right of the rim, and Gonzalez right there, JP on the spot to grab the rebound, almost lost the handle, gathers it, quick bounce pass. Abeda got it into Miller. Miller again had his pocket picked. Here's Taliaferro, throws it cross court to Myrick's, baseline, scoops it up, couldn't get the friendly bounce, and Abeda grabs it for the Tide. Myrick's tries to come in on Abeda. The two players get tangled up, and the two number 1s go down to the floor to make it 11. 6:40 to go in this fast-paced opening quarter. And it's 15-10, 5-point lead for the pesky Power. Armand Benford into the game now. Abeda, Buckner, and Gonzalez all take a seat, so fresh legs coming in here now. DQ Cathcart, Armand Benford, and Garrick Young all check into the game. And Cathcart gets it into Benford. Benford, the floor general for this Tide team when he's out there. Nice little move, used the Young as a bit of a screen, rebound. Young was there, grabs it, puts it up. There's underneath again, good work by Locke, and finally it's Young who gets the putback, but great work under the offensive glass by this Truro Tide unit. Shaq Locke out there as well. So 4 fresh players from the starters. The only player that started the game that's still on the floor for the Tide is that man with the ball, Q Gibson. Gibson goes between the legs, now putting a little dribbling clinic on, steps back, lets it go off the back of the rim, and now the outlet up ahead for Mike Anderson. Anderson new into the game, hands it to the middle. Myrick's goes into the corner, and looks like over on the sideline, Power player stepped out of bounds. Jen McKenzie, the lead official over there, having a quick chat with Marcellus Taliaferro. Taliaferro from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Familiar with the Herd games there, the G League team, feeder club for the Milwaukee Bucks. Certainly would be familiar with Andrew Wigginton. Benford, top of the key, bounce pass, Gonzalez steps back, had it tipped. Ball is loose, Garrick Young has it. Nice pass up high, stepping back is Cathcart for a 3. DQ delivers. So Cathcart, quite often a spark plug for this Tide team when they need a lift. Cathcart often the man who does it. Power now, Stanford from the elbow, lifts it up, in and out. And Gonzalez lost it, back it comes to Anderson. He let it fly off the mark. And now Cathcart outlets to Benford. Benford puts on the brakes. Now he'll dribble to the elbow, hands up high to Locke. Locke goes back to Cathcart on the diagonal through the paint, took it in strong. and he'll take the contact, and he'll go to the line to shoot a couple. So the first personal for Zach Hinton, and it'll be Cathcart to the line to shoot two. DQ Cathcart, just that energy spark plug guy. And that first free throw off the back of the iron. He'll try to do better here on the back end of these free throws. Looking to give the Tide the lead. 0 for 2 on that trip, and the rebound into the hands of Hinton. And he'll hand it off to Jordan Holness. Holness leaves it there for Jack McCauley. McCauley, PEI native. Played for UPEI, Holland College, and Cape Breton University. Most recently with the Holland College Hurricanes. So Tim Kendrick, the coach of the Hurricanes, would certainly know Jack McCauley quite well. As we have a foul to our left in the paint. And speaking of Tim Kendrick, the head coach of the Holland College Hurricanes, also the president of the Eastern Canadian Basketball League. He's in attendance here today, made the trip over, and I'll have a chance to chat with him at the half. So stick around for the Maritime Athletic Profiles halftime show. I'll have a chat with Tim Kendrick as well with former Halifax Hurricanes assistant coach George Loy, who's now the mayor of Stewiacke. All that at the half. Power with the ball, nice little handoff to Anderson, in and out, and there grabbing the offensive rebound is Stanford, who had the easy bunny for the putback deuce, and the Tide now trail it by 2, 17-15. Power in front, Gonzalez dishes to Cathcart on the right wing, leans into it, got the shot away, drew the contact, and that foul going to be on McCauley. So that's the first foul on McCauley. That's going to send Cathcart to the line again. And there is DQ Cathcart, since he checked into the game a couple of minutes ago, kind of in the middle of everything. And that's what DQ Cathcart does. He really is the straw, I should say, that stirs this Tide drink, to go back to a phrase that was used, those many years ago when Darryl Strawberry was doing his thing in the outfield and at the plate for the New York Mets. Strawberry known as the straw that stirred the drink for the Mets, and certainly would say the same thing about Cathcart. And that's how I bring baseball into a basketball game, my friends. That's second, and we'll reset and do it again. Little giggling moment there between Anderson and Cathcart. So lane violation, I think, was called on Anderson, but he's able to laugh about it anyway. Cathcart sets and drains that one through. Always important to convert those free throw opportunities. Here's Myricks. There, little bounce pass from McCauley. Gets it back, scoops it up and under, and gets it to go. McCauley with 2. Gonzalez brings it up the floor now. McCauley watches him. Across the timeline goes Gonzalez, looking for somewhere to go. Feeds it into Shaq Locke. Locke right through the paint, through everybody. Hot knife through butter. Shaq Locke lays it off glass. DeKel Brooks, 22 for the power into the game now. Hands it off. There's Taliaferro with the long distance shot. Didn't get the answer that time, and the Tide will bring it up the floor. Gonzalez now from the right side. Steps back from the defense of McCauley. Bounces it down to that wing. Here's Shaq Locke trying to get something going with Cathcart. Throws it up high instead. Gonzalez, little stutter step move around a couple of defenders. Tried to take it up over top of Anderson, and Mike Anderson just went right over top of Gonzalez, swatted that ball away, and said, well, not this time, JP. Benford to inbound, 5 seconds on the shot clock. Gonzalez thought about the shot, and bit of miscommunication there as he throws it back. And then Cathcart picks it up and just heaves it. Perhaps a little frustration there. So the ball turned over to the Charlottetown Power. It could have been an over and back. It could have been a shot clock violation. Make your pick. However, it'll be Power ball in the offensive court in a 19-19 tie with 2:49 to go. Scott Squires with you on a Sunday afternoon from the Cobequid Educational Center gym. Rematch of this these two teams who played yesterday over in Charlottetown. It's a super high energy game that went right down to the wire. The Tide had a couple of chances to tie or take the lead late, just couldn't convert. And the Power held on for that 99-97 win, and they're tied here. Bounce pass to McCauley. He'll cut it into the lane, spins back top of the key. Left-hand scoop shot, and it goes. Hard work, tough shot. Great finish right there for the PEI native, Jack McCauley. Under 2.5 to go in this first half. Here's Benford. Quick pass over to Cathcart. Over top of the defense now. Trying to work down low is Garrick Young. Young going in against Anderson. And looks like McCauley took a little contact up around the head. And then McCauley, after he took the contact, got called for a foul and quickly shook his head and was like, what, me? Well, yes, Jack, that foul was on you. That's your second personal. Shacklock takes it in strong, leans back, followed by Garrick Young. That's what you want when you have a ball that's not finding the cylinder. You get the big follow from the high flyer, Garrick Young. Power back in offense now. Jump shot off the mark. Battle underneath. Anderson. Contact right up in the face of Shacklock. Shaking it off. Meanwhile, from well downtown, DeKel Brooks drains the triple. Shacklock took that contact up in the face. Still kind of shaking it off. And hopefully everything okay there with Shacklock. And looks like Locke is going to go over and try to right himself here. Khalil Miller checks back into the game for the Truro Tide. Jack McCauley out of the game as well for the Power. Alec Berryman, number 9 for the Power, into the game. And that one taken in strong. Garrick Young trying to take over a little bit here for the Truro Tide. The young man is a fan favorite here and a high flyer, and can get the fans out of the seats when he flies high and jams home some of his signature Garrick Young dunks. Some more substitutions here now for the Power. Adam Stanford and Troy Tremblay back into the game. So that trip good. We are tied. That's kind of the way it's been this entire first quarter. Either a 1 or 2 point lead or tie, and we're at 24 all right now. That pass to Berryman, lost it, and it's going to be an over and back. Berryman tried to save it, but it's a turnover, and it'll be tied ball. And Jen McKenzie will hand it off to Armand Bedford. Right in front of our broadcast position here. Benford will inbound for the Tide. Berryman keeping a close eye. Bounce pass to Cathcart, right back to Benford. Berryman, hand on the side of Cathcart for a moment. Now they go over. That was Buckner. Down to Miller. Miller took it baseline now to the wing, and the handoff to Benford, and the shot clock winds down. The fans started to count down. I lost track of the shot clock, and then it's a shot clock violation. So a turnover. And we still remain 24 all with 1:12 to go in the opening quarter. KV Myrick's hands it off to Berryman, gets it over to Brooks. Everybody getting a touch here. Outside shot is good, and again you see Adam Stanford putting the finger and the thumb to the ear and say, hey, I got a long distance calling plan here and I'm going to use it as much as I can. DQ Cathcart. Miller wide open, lets it fly, too short, and then contact as Garrick Young collided there with Myrick's, and Myrick's went down. Bit of a size mismatch there. Use it as much as I can. The bigger body of Garrick Young. Miller wide open. Took down Mr. Myrick's. KV looks all right though. And KV, he's really kind of been leading things from the floor here for this Power team in this first quarter. And the Power lead by 3. Coach Lonnie States, I'm sure, for the most part, happy with what he's seen here in this road quarter. And I'm sure that the Power knew that the Tide would be coming out strong and looking to kind of avenge yesterday's loss. But you got to give it to the Charlottetown Power. They've come out here and played a strong first quarter. And with 43.7 to go in the opening frame, they lead by 3, 27-24, Power in front. And Stanford at the line, Adam Stanford, poured in 19 points yesterday in that power win and spins in the first. So I'm not sure who the call was on, but I think that was a technical free throw, so I didn't hear an announcement on a tech. Maybe it was on Young for the collision with Myrick's underneath. So a 4-point lead, 40 seconds to go. Myrick's hands it off to Berryman, gets it to Brooks. A little globe-trotter rotation going on here for the Power. Stepping in through the middle there, put it up toward the basket. Stanford didn't get the finish on it though, and the Tide will bring it back down the floor. And as Cathcart charges into the basket, Berryman went flying for the Power. So they're going to get Berryman for the foul. That's his first. And Benford will inbound with 19 on the shot clock, 24.9 left in the quarter. Locke hands it off to Q Gibson. Locke runs a little screen for Gibson. Now he goes over the top, right back to Locke against a couple of defenders. Shaq Locke. Nice little give and go there. Great communication between Gibson and Locke with the deuce. Shot clock is off, 7 seconds to go. Power, one last chance, or a little spin move by Myers. Look at Benford. Great defense by Armand, and then Berryman heaves it at the buzzer, and it's off the mark, and that is how the first quarter will come to a close. Great opening quarter of action between these two teams. 28-26, it's the Power in front. We'll step aside, be back with the second quarter in just a couple minutes. Power put the ball in play to start this second quarter. They lead it by 2, 28-26. Scott Squires, the Maritime Athletic Profiles crew with you here on a Sunday afternoon. There's a long shot out of the hands of Hinton off the mark. We're at the Truro Tide home gym on the campus of Cobequid Educational High School. A very rich in history high school and their program, the CEC Cougars. Benford to Gibson, down low to Locke. Takes a couple of bits of contact there from Taliaferro. They try to put it right back inside to Locke, had it stolen away. Here comes Holness. Holness got caught in the air, handed it off. Well, outside, letting it fly. KV Myrick's hits that triple from well downtown. 5-point lead now. Power in front. Cathcart, Gibson releases string music, and it's beautiful. for Gibson and the Tide. Myrick's brings it up the floor now, cuts toward the middle, dishes off to the right wing. Working with it is Holness. One-hand throw to Taliaferro, back to Holness. Step down low, nice pass underneath. Myrick scoop handing it off to Taliaferro. He took it in strong, missed, and then got taken down to the deck for his troubles. And then over on the sideline, Osavian Buckner trying to make a move against Myrick's. And Myrick's tagged with the personal foul, his second. Here's Benford directing traffic with Holness, keeping a close eye. Holness reaching in there on Benford, who goes down to the deep in the left wing side. Hugh Gibson working against Taliaferro. Gibson steps around the defense, lifts it high, gets the bounce off the back of the rim, and drops it down through the mesh. And we're back to a tie game, 31-all. You get the feeling this one could be a tight one right down the stretch. Well outside again. Didn't get the result he wanted there as Myrick's let it go, perhaps feeling it. But Buckner back the other way. Oso Buckner down into the corner. Cathcart tries to make a move around Myrick's. And they're going to call Myrick's again for the foul. So that's a couple of quick fouls for Myrick's. I thought it was on Myrick's. Now they're saying DeKel Brooks. However, Myrick's over to the bench. Hugh Gibson with the ball, takes it through the paint. Tried to dish it off to Shaq Locke, went over Locke's head. And now Holness brings it right back the other way. Holness, fans wanted to, nope. Well, the fans looking to see if there was a bobble or any kind of a walk or anything, but no call. 2 points, play carries on. Fans wanted it, but it's the referees who've got the whistle. Here's Cathcart trying to get a little help there from Buckner. Cathcart steps back, rainbow shot, skims off the right part of the cylinder, and back up the floor come the Charlottetown Power. Stanford up high, Taliaferro lets it go. Off to the side, DQ Cathcart outlet, quarterback to receiver, and Locke was hounded there by Marcellus Taliaferro underneath the basket, but heck of an outlet pass there all the way down the court into the hands of Shaq Locke, and Locke, the great catch on the other end, took the contact. He'll go to the line. Shaq Locke hits the first. The young man played as a caper once upon a time down in Cape Breton University. Looking to tie it again. Oh, good trip to the line for number 8 in white, Shaq Locke, and we are indeed tied once again. Locke to the bench, Khalil Miller back into the contest for the Truro Tide. Truro's big man, number 14 in white. Charlottetown will saunter up the floor with it, Holness. Little handoff there for DeKel Brooks. Now it's McCall. Zach Hinton. Hinton lost the handle for a minute underneath the pressure of Miller, but they reset. Holness trying to take it against Benford. Holness, all kinds of traffic there, and then turns it over. Nice interior defense by the Tide. Cathcart dishes to the corner. Gibson, and he hits it right in front of the fans of the Truro Tide. Q Gibson from the corner lets it fly. We'll take a look here. Nicely done in transition. Great little dish to the corner. The rise, the fire, and the triple. 36-33. Truro Tide into the lead. 8:29 to go. Pretty early on in this second quarter. The Truro Tide 9-1 on the season. Charlottetown Power 6-4. Talking to Coach Pat Havard from the Tide prior to the game, he said simply, and you may have heard it in his pregame interview, he just wants to see more intensity, effort, and energy, and he wants to see a better overall team game. That team chemistry and cohesion, so important in any team sport, but certainly in basketball. And again, it's worth mentioning, you know, these teams came together relatively quickly. trying to get travel arrangements and passports and all those logistical things that fans don't want to worry too much about, but it's a reality. So the majority of these teams really didn't have a whole lot of time together in terms of preseason games or training camp, anything like that. So it's so important for these teams to be able to gel and have chemistry and play that all-important team game and have that communication. And, you know, for the most part, most of these teams in the Eastern Canadian Basketball League only 9-10 games into the season. So the fact that there was no training camp or preseason to speak of, these teams are now just kind of starting to come together. There's Holness, sends it into the paint, dish out, high, long distance shot. That falls short, and Oso Buckner back the other way. Osavian tried to feed it to Cathcart. Stepping right in the middle was Brooks, to Kel Brooks. Nice defense, and then takes it all the way the other way with the soft little lay-in. DQ Cathcart calling for Q Gibson. Gibson being watched very intently there by Anderson. Gibson puts it on the floor, takes it in against Anderson, throws it to the other side. Corner three off the back of the rim. Great job by Garrick Young boxing out, grabbing that rebound. Gets it back up high to Gibson. 7 on the shot clock. Gibson right in against 3 defenders off glass, and there's Khalil Miller with the follow. Couldn't get it to go, and then the rebound grabbed by the Power, and they'll push it back the other way. Going in strong underneath, trying to scoop it up was Hinton. The put back no good, and now it's a track meet back the other way. Gibson bounces it to Cathcart. He'll take it baseline, runs right to the basket up underneath. And now the Power right back the other way. 7:05 to go in the half. 1 point advantage for the Tide. And trying to take it in and muscle his way through there was Stanford, but Cathcart denies, right back the other way. Nice little dish to Buckner, and oh so Buckner, oh so good off the glass. 3 point advantage for the Tide. All kinds of energy here in the building. It's a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This crowd seeing their Tide lose for the first time against this Power team yesterday over in Charlottetown. So they're excited for the Tide to get a win, hopefully, but they're also nervous and a bit tense because they know the Power are looking for win number 2 in a row here against their Tide. Here's Cathcart, 6 on the shot clock. Cathcart into the paint, stops, puts it off the glass. Miller tried to grab the rebound. Buckner gets it. Miller with a little tap. All kinds of great efforts underneath that glass by the Tide, but they just couldn't get a points result. 38-35, and it'll be Charlottetown Power ball. DeKel Brooks to inbound. He's got Jordan Holness with him. Holness now. Across the logo at center court. Into the offensive half court for the Power. There's a little dish to Tremblay. Hand off to Anderson, left-hand scoop shot. Can't get the answer. Tap back, rolls around. And the third effort there underneath by Troy Tremblay pays off. Garrick Young back the other way, spins against a couple of defenders. Khalil Miller, like a locomotive, coming right down the tracks through the heart of Truro. Takes it and lays it in. Pretty play. Great effort by number 14, Khalil Miller. Anderson now. Dribbles up high, hands off to the wing. Stanford off to that right wing side. Dribbles back up high again, hands it off to Anderson. Anderson stopped just inside the elbow and then took the contact from Miller. But how about this? Watch Miller from the left of your screen, right there, boom, right down the lane. Engine number 9 coming down the Truro line, or in this case, engine number 14, Khalil Miller. Mike Anderson at the line now for the Power. Hits the first. Anderson. Fans trying to distract him, but no effect on Anderson as he drains. Mike Anderson from Grand Bay, New Brunswick. Wears 34 for the Power, and he's defending now on Gibson. Gibson shields him off with an arm. Little kiss off the glass, no good. Now the outlet. Anderson wide open, lays it off glass and in. So Anderson now getting hot here for the Power. Gibson being watched by Holness. Gets it down low to Garrick Young. Young has the defense on him, and then foul's going to get called on the Power. And it's going to be on Adam Stanford. So Stanford tapped with the personal. Armand Benford inbounds it to Khalil Miller. Miller up high to Gonzalez. 10 on the shot clock for the Tide. Here's Q Gibson being watched by McCauley. Gibson spins away from McCauley, lifts it high, and Gibson, nice move into the paint, took it up toward the basket and draws the foul. So that's number 3 on McCauley. So the Holland College Hurricane most recently, mentioned earlier, also played for Cape Breton University as well as UPEI. He picks up his 3rd personal. Having a quick chat there with official Paul Hansen. Off the miss, Young tried to work the rebound up, but the Power will come away with it. DeKel Brooks, nice handoff there. Right down the lane goes Stanford as he took the dish, and he goes charging through the paint and draws the contact. Adam Stanford looking strong on that last sequence. Stanford from Fontana, California. Certainly must be enjoying the California-like weather here in Nova Scotia, I'm sure, said the play-by-play announcer sarcastically. It can get nice and hot here, but not so much in the springtime, the odd occasion. But doubtful that it's as consistently hot as it is in California, but I digress. Q Gibson pushing back the defense, steps back, lifts it up from about 4 feet, and that was just sheer will and determination from Q Gibson right there. Power now working with the ball. Into the defense goes Brooks, hands it back to Berryman. Now they'll just work that ball around the perimeter again. Trying to find an opening, step back, jump shot is good as DeKel Brooks finds nothing but mesh on that delivery. Under 4 minutes to play in the half. Benford gets it to Gibson. Gibson's been good in this opening half for Truro. Step back again from 9 feet. Q Gibson, quite good. 45 for the Tide, 47 for the Power. The lads from Charlottetown up by 2. Here's Berryman. Gets the defender to fly by. Shot too strong. And the long rebound right into the hands of Garrick Young, who works it up to Gibson. Gibson bounces it back to Young. Took a little contact there and lifts it in. Nice as you please for Garrick Young. And we're back to a tie ball game. Quelle surprise. Stanford to Berryman. Berryman, nobody around him. Dribble now, tries to penetrate inside. Quick dish. This is Brooks. DeKel Brooks with a hand in his face. Shot it long as J.P. Gonzalez was right there defensively hounding the shot attempt from DeKel Brooks. And the security guard over by the main entrance there, getting into the act, picking up that ball and putting it back into the hands of the players. Berryman trying to look over top of the defense. Hands it off. Turnaround shot there from Brooks as the shot clock wound down. They get it back. Fresh shot clock at 14. Berryman shot. Not enough juice on it, and here comes Q Gibson. Right the other way. Takes the contact. Hands it off to Miller. They're going to wipe out the basket as referee McKenzie says, you're wondering, was it a block? Was it a charge? She gave the emphatic charge call. So the foul on Gibson as McKenzie says that Anderson had the feet planted, was in position in the lane. It looked pretty, but it's a foul, and the ball goes back to the Power. 2:40 to go in the half. Holness, hand off to Anderson. Anderson, spin move against Gonzalez, steps into the paint, shot off the mark, rebound grabbed it by Miller, and Miller hands it up to Benford, who gets it to Young, and Young rises into the air and just gently touches it into the bucket. And now head coach Lonnie States from the Power goes over to the timekeeper's bench and says, I want a timeout right now. 2:24 to go in the half, 49-47. Tide back into the lead in this seesaw affair. Timeout on the floor. We'll be back. Huddle going on here on the floor with the Charlottetown Power. Meanwhile, at the other end of the court, the Truro Tide just coming out of their huddle with Coach Pat Havard over there helping out with some coaching duties today. As mentioned, not in the lineup, Tyler Scott and Tyrone Watson, but those are two pretty high IQ basketball players and overall great guys to have on your bench, being able to kind of help out with some of the assistant coaching duties and drawing up plays as well. Berryman gets it right back on the little give and go with Stanford. Berryman dribbles off to the left, tried to go in against Benford, and Berryman hit the deck, and it's like Benford is going to get tapped with the personal foul. So it is on Benford. That's the second personal on Armand. That'll send Berryman to the line, and Alec Berryman good on the first. Berryman from Santa Clarita, California. A number of California guys on this power team. From the beaches of California to the beaches of Prince Edward Island. Khalil Miller now over the top to Garrick Young. Two defenders right on him. Young tried to power his way up, but the power denied. And now Holness over to Berryman. Quick little dish to Stanford. Stanford kind of got his foot stuck to the floor. Hands it back to Berryman. That shot hit the front of the rim, and the Tide will rebound. 92 seconds left in the half as Benford takes it in strong to the basket. And now so that's a foul on Berryman. That's number 2 on Alec Berryman, the Santa Clarita guy. So Benford at the line. 2-point lead now for Truro, 50-48. It's a little thing, but psychologically having the lead at the half can give you a boost. Good on the second there from Benford. So a 3-point lead for the Tide with 1:25 to go in the half. Holness dishes to Anderson. He'll dribble all the way around the perimeter and then hands it to Berryman, who's being watched by Benford. Now it's Stanford. Over to the left wing for Holness. Takes it baseline. Holness tried to hammer it down, and the big man, Khalil Miller, says, I don't think so. Gonzalez wide open, catch and shoot off the inside of the rim. Nice rebound there by Jordan Holness, who'll bring it back up. Holness to Berryman. Back to Holness, being watched by Q Gibson. Nice little give and go. Bounce pass there. Trying to stuff it in was Taliaferro. And again, the denial underneath. And this time, the foul going to be on Khalil Miller. But again, great rim protection by the Tide and by number 14 in white, Khalil Miller in particular. You got to have that interior presence. And that certainly is something that Khalil Miller brings game in and game out as Taliaferro hits the first. League President Tim Kendrick telling me that when he coached Taliaferro at Holland College, he said he can shoot it, but he really likes the way that he handles the ball and facilitates for his teammates. So keep an eye on 19 in black, not only from the offensive shooting side, but also from his ball distribution and being able to set up his teammates. Anderson Oh, the fans wanted to travel there as Anderson got tied up with Holness, but the Power trying to work at baseline, throw it back up high. Holness sees an opening, don't know how he found it, tried the little nifty scoop shot, but the Tide read it. Young to Gibson, steps inside, takes it to the paint, hands it to Gonzalez. Great ball movement, nice finish by J.P. Gonzalez. 3-point advantage, shot clock is off, 12 to go in the half. Potentially final possession there over the top. Taliaferro just inside the elbow. Couldn't get the range on that one. 3 seconds. Benford got to let it go. Just off the side. Almost got there. But the horn sounds to end an entertaining first half of basketball. Back and forth. These two teams went all half long. So we reached the half. 53-50. Tied in front by 3. We're going to step aside for a quick break. Don't go too far. The Maritime Athletic Profiles halftime show coming up. I'm going to have a chat with League President Tim Kendrick, and just after that, I'll chat to the mayor of Stewiacke and former Halifax Hurricanes assistant, George Loy. All that coming up in just a minute. Welcome back inside the gym here at Cobequid Educational Center in Truro. We're at the half. The Truro Tide lead the Charlottetown Power 53-50. Very pleased to be joined by the president of the Eastern Canadian Basketball League, Tim Kendrick. First of all, Tim, great to have you here in Truro. What did you make of that first half?
Just more great ECBL action. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but it seems like every game's a thriller in this league.
You're not lying. And listen, this is an idea to have this league in the Maritimes, maritime-based with players and community involvement. You had that several years ago. What does it mean to you to see it come to fruition?
It's hard to put into words, Scott, for me. I mean, I just think there's so many players in the Maritimes that are going to benefit from this league eventually, you know what I mean? But right from the time, young kids now coming up through and getting a chance to play at home, I just think it's an amazing thing.
And it's great to see the community involvement as well, and especially the young fans that get to interact with the players. What does that piece of this mean to you?
Well, that to me, it's the whole thing. We want to be community oriented. We have visits to schools every day. I got a note from a principal the other day saying that it was the best visit she's ever had by a team in her school. And that stuff to me is so huge for our league to grow, and we want the league to grow. And we love that Saltwire and yourself and the people that are helping us out. Remember, what's that saying? It takes a community to raise a child. Well, it takes a community to raise a league like this.
Yeah, we're super glad to be able to do that at Saltwire, and I know the Maritime Athletic Profiles team as well,
exactly.
Doing all the live stream. It's wonderful. What message do you have for basketball fans in the Maritimes that maybe haven't been introduced to the league yet or been out to see a game? What would you say to them?
Well, I've been lucky. I've been in basketball for a long time, and this is as exciting day in, day out as any league I've ever been in. And I'm talking about just excitement. From casual fan to solid basketball fans that have been around a long time. It literally seems to me like every game, the games this week, I don't think, there's 2 games back-to-back, this is the second one. I don't think anybody's led by more than 7 now in a full game and a half. It's back and forth action. The game in Wolfville last night, 10-point game. Like every game is just thrilling. You got to get out and see some games.
Great to see the passion coming from you, Tim. Before I let you go, you and I have known each other quite a while, and I've seen you become a grandparent, and I know that you've got a couple of grandkids now, but I learned that they call you Lolly and Poppy. Your wife is Lolly, you're Poppy. How's life being a grandparent, being Poppy?
It's wonderful. We have 4 now, you know what I mean? Yeah, and It's just wonderful. I just got a bunch of pictures from the kids now in Sydney. They're all walking around. The parents are doing wonderful jobs.
Well, listen, Tim Kendrick, head coach of the Holland College Hurricanes, president of the East Canadian Basketball League, and Poppy. Thanks for doing this, and look forward to seeing you again sometime.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Great to talk to Tim. It's 53-50 at the half. Don't go too far. When we come back, I'll speak to the mayor of Stewiacke and former Halifax Hurricanes assistant, George Lloyd. That and more in just a minute.
Thanks a lot.
Welcome back to Truro, Nova Scotia. At the half, the Truro Tide lead the visitors from Charlottetown, the Charlottetown Power. It's 53-50. Very pleased to be joined by George Lloyd. George, I'll give you a bit of a resume here. Currently the mayor of Stewiacke, Nova Scotia, but was a basketball coach and is a lifelong basketball guy. Coached here at the Dal AC with the basketball program, was an assistant with the Halifax Hurricanes. And most recently, I'd like to ask you about your trip to Cuba. What were you doing down there?
Well, basically, I've been going down to Cuba for 25 years, I guess, and giving back and doing some basketball with local schools and orphanages and the pro team down there, and just giving back to the community.
When you say Cuba, is it like one area in particular, or are you kind of covering as much of the country as possible?
I've been all over, Holguin, Veradero, into Havana a couple times, just reaching out, taking the game I love back to another country, and kind of my second home, JC.
Now let's talk about the Eastern Canadian Basketball League and the Truro Tide in particular. It was great to see you here today and know that you're out at the game. As I mentioned, you got basketball in your DNA. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm impressed with the product. I've been away, and it's the first time I actually get to see a home game, and transition game, second shots. Team chemistry is really important, and this is a nice build, and this team's going to do very well in this league. We have to get more support in the community, so let's see that happen.
Now, I am curious how it is you transition from coaching basketball to being the mayor of a thriving town like Stewiacke. How's that happen, George?
I think sometimes by chance and luck, and I've always been about giving back, and to me it's quite simple. You do the best you can with integrity, and the love of people, caring, it's pretty simple.
All right, honest answer here. Is it more difficult to coach basketball players or to be a mayor in council?
Oh, mayor and council. Thumbs down. Love both, though. Love both.
Last thing for you, I know I just talked to the president of the league, Tim Kendrick, and he's so, wanting this league to be successful and to see it help grow basketball in communities. What would you like to see from this league in terms of helping grow the game at the grassroots level, especially with the younger players?
Well, I think connections in the local school system and clubs and getting the word out. This is a good, I've been around basketball for 30 years, and this is a good league. And if we can get some grassroots support, it's going to take some guys locally that have a chance to go on beyond the college and university days to have that next step for them. So, anything I can do as I love this game, I will certainly be on board.
Last thing for you, I want you to put your mayor's hat on and tell everybody that's watching this live stream, literally across the globe, why, when they're in Nova Scotia, they should come visit the beautiful town of Stewiacke.
Stewiacke is my hometown. I have an absolute love for it. We're growing. It's an inclusive community. And of course, you got the mayor has love of basketball, so we can sit and talk about politics or basketball all day long, JC.
That is well done. Listen, George, thanks very much for doing this, and we wish you continued success in your mayoralty role, but also to see you involved in basketball as well. Thanks for this.
Thank you, sir.
That's the mayor of Stewiacke, George Loy. We're at the half, 53-50. Tide lead the Power. Second half, about 5 minutes away. We'll be back.
Thank you, sir. Nice to see you.
Want to say a big thank you to Tim Kendrick and George Loy for joining us during the half to bring those interviews to you. Great to chat with both of those basketball passionate individuals. So we're just about set to go here. Second half action, 53-50, Truro tied in the lead. Referee Paul Hansen getting ready to hand the ball off to Q Gibson, who will inbound to get us underway in quarter number 2. And he hands it off to JP Gonzalez. And we are underway in the second half. Scott Squires, the Maritime Athletic Profiles team. Glad to have you with us here on a Sunday afternoon in Truro. Here's Q Gibson. Good first half for Q. Takes it right to the baseline. That one over everything. And then Miller got tangled up there underneath with Marcellus Taliaferro. And jump ball called, possession arrow to the Power. Great to see another good crowd on hand here today, including lots of young basketball fans, helping grow the grassroots game. That's what it's all about. With the ball now, this is Holness for Myrick's. Myrick's had a good first half as well. Power taking the ball right down Broadway was Hinton, grabbing his own rebound. Miller is there, and then a little tug of war as Taliaferro and Buckner got tangled up. So it'll be tied ball. Gonzalez again. JP brings it up the floor, being watched closely there by Holmes. Gonzalez takes it right into the glass and takes it off the backboard, drops it in, takes the contact, so the hoop and the harm will send Gonzalez to the line. So a good burst of speed there from JP Gonzalez. And he converts. So a three-point play. Nice work by Gonzalez to take it to the rack and then finish it off on the back end with the and one. Here's Myrick now. Talk about tough shot. Took it right in between two defenders, tried to scoop it up. And now the call going to go against Truro. Basketball, probably an understatement, but not an easy game to officiate. And just my humble opinion, but I think of all of the kind of mainstream, main professional sports, hockey, baseball, basketball, football, throw soccer in there as well, lacrosse, if I want to think of some of the pro sports that are played certainly in Halifax. Basketball, just in my opinion, certainly the toughest one to officiate. Underneath. Oh, look at that from Stanford. Standing tough under the bucket, getting the deuce. 4-point lead for the Tide, 56-52. Q Gibson from the wing, trying to back down the defender, shoves off the defender, and then put the shot up. It was off the mark. Long lead pass now for Hinton. He corrals it, throws it high to the other side into the hands of KV Myrick's. Myrick's goes to the left wing. Now working it toward the elbow with Stanford. Steps back. Shot, tap back there. That didn't work. And then it ends up into the hands of Q Gibson, who will outlet to Nico Abeda. Abeda gets it into the hands of Miller. Miller and Taliaferro come together. Miller stepped back, tried to put the ball up over top of Taliaferro, and then it goes out of bounds on the other side. Not quite 2 minutes into this third quarter. So there'll be 14 seconds on the shot clock as Nico Abeda, he'll inbound. Q Gibson sees the opening. Shot was no good. Rebound, outlet, up ahead for Stanford in the open floor. Defense closes on him. Nice job by both Gibson and Abeda to close out there on what looked like it might have been an open cut to the bucket. Buckner now gets it to Miller. Up high to Gonzalez, using Miller as a screen. Steps back well downtown. J.P. Gonzalez from Salmon River hits the three. The lead up to 7, largest lead of the game for either side. As Gonzalez with the long distance dial up. Now Power back the other way. Hinton tried to work it over to the corner, goes out of play. And Stanford and Myrick's just having a quick chat to make sure that they're on the same page here. And Gibson works it up to Abeda. Abeda, bounce pass back to Q. Q Gibson, is he gonna do it again? He thought about it. Now dribble penetration inside, handoff to Miller, steps back to the sideline, Couldn't get the bounce off the rim. Nice job by Taliaferro to suck up that rebound and get it ahead to Stanford. Goes into the corner three from the open shot in the corner, and it's good out of the hands of Jordan Holness. Nice ball movement, good opening there, and the finish from the Power in the corner, and now we're going to have a foul call, and ball goes back to the Power. So the foul on Benford, I believe that's his third. They didn't announce it here, but I'm trying to keep track on my little sheet. 4-point lead for the Tide. Hinton hands off to Stanford, being watched by Buckner. Stanford bounces it inside. Hinton backs down the defender as Q Gibson took some contact. And they're going to wave off the bucket and call the offensive foul on Hinton. So no bucket, foul on Hinton. Good hard work there by Hinton underneath the basket, but that called for the foul. By my count, that's Hinton's second personal. 2 team fouls for Charlottetown in this third quarter, 8:40 to go. Here's Benford, just checked into the game for the Tide, bounces it down to Miller, lost the handle in transition. Power trying to come the way. Gonzalez got in the middle, ball loose now. And last touched by number 17 in white for Truro, Osavian Buckner. Oso heads over to the bench. DQ Cathcart checking back in now for the Tide. And it'll be Zach Hinton inbounding it to Myrick, working it over to Holness. Cathcart, hand up, defending on Holness. Holness steps back, now dishes to the corner. Stanford faked the shot, went back to Holness. He puts it on the floor. From the elbow, skids right across the top of the cylinder. Rebounded well there, back to Holness again. Now Myrick, right down the lane, hands off. Underneath, Taliaferro couldn't get the touch. Taps the rebound. Another 14 on the shot clock. Stanford falling away, got the shot away, and then took the contact. And Benford still with the hands up, saying, hey, I had position right here. Don't go calling a foul on me. So that's going to send Adam Stanford to the line. Dropped in 19 yesterday in the 99-97 Power win over the Tide. Fans now stomping their feet, screaming, trying to throw off Stanford, but no effect on Adam as he hits the first. Stanford, deep side, big exhale, lines up the second. Good trip for Stanford. That pulls the Power to within 2. 59-57, under 8 minutes to play, third quarter. Armand Bedford being watched by KV Myrick's. Benford, little handoff to Miller from the elbow. Up high on the wing, handed it to Garrick Young. And I think they're going to say that Cathcart stepped out of bounds, perhaps. Shot clock violation. Oh, it's off. There we go. Producer Clark. I wasn't even looking at the clock. I'm focused in on what's happening with the ball movement. We had that happen a couple of times on the game last week where I'm not sure if somebody's pulling out the plug, playing tricks, what it is, but technical difficulties and issues. So Shaq Locke into the game. Khalil Miller takes a bench, slaps 5 with his coach Pat Havard. So 14 on the shot clock, 7:55 to go third quarter. Here's Benford. Cuts off to the left, dishes to Gonzalez up high. Young works it to Cathcart, dribble penetration, Euro step, high off the glass, put back is there. Great work by Armand Benford, finishing off the Truro razzle-dazzle. And look at Myrick, speaking of razzle-dazzle, how about that as he's sitting on the floor and still flexing, and why not? After that last play, have a look at it right here. Goodness, falling away, scooping it up like he's putting ice cream in a cone. And it's 2 for the Power. And going to the line is KV Myrick's. Just a great, great rush to the basket and tough shot to say the least. Acrobatic shot from Myrick. Now a chance for Myrick's to finish off the three-point play. Couldn't get it though, but still a bucket off the nice effort. Gibson, screen from Locke. Gibson takes it in, scoops it over his head, turns it over. And now Power in transition, right back the other way. Stanford to the corner. Holness is good. Triple from the corner, and the Power have vaulted into the lead. 62-61. 7:07 to play. Back and forth. These two teams continue to go, and Benford, strong move by Myricks, takes it to the rack and lays it in. Myricks being watched by Benford. Wants to go one way, now the other. Here's Anderson back into the game. Gibson flies by. Anderson steps in, couldn't connect on the jumper. And the rebound taken there by Cathcart, who gets it up to Benford. Goes behind the back, stops at the elbow. Now cross court. Cathcart wide open. Off the back of the iron. Rebound well there underneath as KV Myricks goes down to the floor. Gets helped up by his teammate Mike Anderson. So the foul called on Garrick Young. 6:33 to play. Anderson inbounds to Myricks. Myricks will just stop now, move a little bit to his right, goes between the legs. Nice handle, bounce pass underneath. One move, then the other way as Zach Hinton took the feed inside. Good body control, gets the bucket. Now it's the Power in the lead. Benford over wide open. Gibson close out there. Gibson too strong as Myricks was closing out on him, got a hand in his face. Shaq Locke grabs it and says, fine, I'll just walk along the baseline here and put up a tough looking shot and get a couple. Myricks sees the opening. Hand in his face, missed the shot, up ahead. Locke takes the feed from Cathcart, and Locke leans into the glass, finger roll for two. Anderson, little scoop there for Holness, being watched by Garrick Young. Holness gets it to Stanford now, Young on Stanford, now Myricks takes a little bump from Cathcart, tries to blow by Cathcart, lays it up and in right over Shaq Locke, who pounds the ball into the floor, but right back the other way. Oh, look at that, the feed over top, Gibson to Young, and Young just couldn't connect on the little catch and hammer down. We'll see it here on the replay, quickly in transition. There was Gibson over the top and just closing out in time to prevent the highlight dunk was number 34, Mike Anderson. Good defensive play by Anderson there, but it does indeed send Garrick Young to the line, gets the friendly roll on the first. Garrick Young, the high flyer. More than one time he's gotten the fans out of their seats and cheering wildly with his acrobatics and his high flying dunks. 68-66, 2-point lead. Truro tied. Stanford from just outside the arc, let it fly off the mark, trying to grab the rebound underneath, was Hinton. He went down to his derriere off the floor. Bounces back up quickly though. So they're going to call the foul on Garrick Young. That's number 4 on Young, so keep a close eye on that. Coach Pat Havard brings Young out of the game, puts Khalil Miller back in. So again, with the 4 fouls, taking him out with 5 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Look at Stanford in a crowd. Didn't quite connect, and then Benford grabbed the rebound. And we're going to have a foul called on Jordan Holness. So that's the first on Holness. 4th team foul on the Power. 68-66, tied in front. Largest lead of the game has been 7, and that belonged to the Tide. For the most part, though, it's been a one-possession game or tied for the majority of this contest with 4:45 to go in the third quarter.
Power foul, number 40, Jack McCauley is fourth.
And speaking of 4th fouls, now Jack McCauley from the Charlottetown Power just got hit for his 4th personal. That's going to send DQ Cathcart to the line. And DQ misses on the first. Looking to make it a 3-point lead here is DQ. Can't get the roll. So 0 for 2 on that trip. The lead stays at 2. Power with Holness. Taking it against Locke. Hands it back now. McCauley working against Cathcart. McCauley trying to find somewhere to go with it. Great job defensively by Cathcart. And then the turnaround jump shot from Hinton. Miss. Benford back the other way. Nice bounce past the Locke. Into the corner. And they're going to call the charge on Locke as McCauley and Anderson were both there. We'll have a look at it here. You see Benford feeding Locke, and then Locke went right into the defender. Tried to dish it over into the corner to Gibson, but got called for the charge. Holness lets it roll up. We'll wait before he picks it up. On the attack. From the elbow, good is number 5, Adam Stanford. Counting down now, getting close to 4 minutes left in the third quarter. A close game, all game long, 68-all. Cathcart being watched defensively there. Brooks has a close eye on him. Shaq Locke tried to create a little havoc, trying to feed it to Gibson. Gibson looks at the shot clock. 2 seconds, Q. Gibson in a crowd. Couldn't get a clean shot away. Now right back the other way quickly is Stanford. Stanford pivots, tried to feed it back. Just saving it there was Brooks, DeKel Brooks. Bounce pass over to the sideline. Stepping back is Stanford for 3. That's off the mark, and the rebound into Q Gibson. Gibson and the Tide will try to settle a little bit here after some frantic possessions. Cathcart wide open. Couldn't get the range on that. Anderson, lead pass up ahead. Here's Brooks from about 12 feet. High off glass, no good. Both teams gone a little chilly here from the floor. Cathcart, Euro step, lifts it high, wants it. Can't get it. Stanford grabs the rebound and sends Holness away. Holness sees the opening, takes it in strong, lays it off the glass. And again, both teams right now 0 from the field on their last few trips. Benford and the Tide will try to change that. 2:47 to go. Benford dribbling around, backs away. Being watched there by Brooks. Tried to go around Brooks. And they're going to call the foul on DeKel Brooks. That's the first personal on DeKel. J.P. Gonzalez back into the game. Shaq Locke will head over to the bench and walk by head coach Pat Havard, who slaps 5 of them. Locke goes down the line. So the ball will be inbounded here by Armand Benford up against DeKel Brooks, who just got called for his first personal. Benford looking for somewhere to go, gets it to Khalil Miller. Miller looking to use that big wingspan, gets it back to Benford. Benford uses a little screen there. Now Gibson open. Off the front of the rim, the fans wanted it. Collective groan when it didn't go in, but Miller working hard. Great work by Miller. Gets the rebound. Gibson tried to feed it to a cutting Gonzalez, and it couldn't quite connect. Right idea, just not the connection. But how about the work from Khalil Miller on the floor, digging in, grabbing that rebound, working so hard for it. Truro Tide weren't rewarded with points on the other end, but again, you got to give credit where it's due, and that was just some great work by Miller, dogging for that rebound on the floor. We remain tied at 68-all. 2:15 to go. Here's Anderson now. Little dish off for Hinton, Zach Hinton. Gets it to DeKel Brooks. Brooks dribbles off to the left, spins around. 7 on the shot clock. Anderson from the elbow, rattles it in for 2. Good possession there from the Power, and they take the lead. Under 2 to go. Here's Q Gibson. Myrick's right in his pocket. Gibson leans over to the left hand. Couldn't finish on it. And then it's rebounded there by Taliaferro, who hands it to Myrick's. Myrick's across the timeline, being watched by Gibson. Little handoff there to DeKel Brooks. Brooks to Anderson. Mike Anderson just puts it right into the hands of Hinton. 5 on the shot clock. Brooks steps back. Sweet string music this time for the Power. as DeKel Brooks, nothing but net for 22 in the black and purple. We'll see it here. Saw the shot clock winding down, step back, Miller hand in his face. And Brooks says, no problem, let me just stroke this one through the twine for 3. So we've got a timeout on the floor, 1:22 to go. Now it's the Power into the lead, and it's by 5, 73-68. We'll be back. That last 3 out of the hands of DeKel Brooks from East Preston, Nova Scotia. Another great basketball player from the province of Nova Scotia, a hotbed for basketball talent in the country and certainly in this region. And while I have a moment, if you're going to be in or around the Truro area over the next week or so, drop in to the Truro Mall and go by the Body Shop. My daughter works there, and herself and the staff, with the support, of course, of the Body Shop, are doing some fundraising for 2 very important organizations here in Truro, and I'll get to that thought next stoppage. Here's Buckner. Oso Buckner being watched closely there by Taliaferro. Gibson lost his footing, pushing in against Anderson, right over top of Anderson, who stayed with him defensively and hindered that shot just enough that it was missed. And here comes DeKel Brooks. Great defense, good hands by Benford. Q Gibson. Down the floor, Gibson right into the defense. Draws the contact, he'll go to the line to shoot a couple. But just to finish that thought, the Body Shop does a lot of great fundraising for worthwhile causes and organizations. And this week, leading up to Mother's Day, there's some fundraising going on. Check it out at the Truro Mall, the Body Shop. They're raising funds for 3rd Place Transition House and for the Lotus Center. 2 very important organizations here in the Truro and Colchester County area. So again, if you're able, and if you can, drop by the Body Shop, check out what they're doing there, and if you have the means to do so, a donation would mean a lot, not only to the folks at the Body Shop doing the fundraising, but also for the 2 organizations, 3rd Place Transition House and the Lotus Center. Under a minute to play, 3rd quarter, 4-point lead for the Power. Here's Berryman, leans against the defender, hands it off. And the jump shot is good as Taliaferro has a little stink eye for the fans as he runs by him. Good bit of fun, interaction between the visiting team and the Tide fans. 25 to go, about a 10-second difference between shot clock and game clock. Gibson launches with a hand in his face, and that just scraped off the side of the rim. And then grimacing as he gets up there, trying to grab that number, that's Troy Tremblay. So Troy, a little slow to get up, but looks okay. Wipes off the bottom of the kicks. And it'll be Benford to inbound, 14 on the shot clock. From the elbow, Miller, smooth jump shot though, just off the mark. Gonzalez grabs the offensive rebound. And they're gonna say last touch by Benford. So it'll be Power ball, shot clock off. And 10.9 to go. Tied in the bonus, just as a matter of housekeeping. So Tremblay out of the game, still grimacing a little bit there. Jack McCauley checks in for the final 10 seconds of this 3rd quarter. Power up by 6, looking to add to the lead before the quarter ends. Good defense, Taliaferro, too strong. And the 3rd quarter comes to a close, but again, the Charlottetown Power becoming a thorn in the side of the Truro Tide. They lead at 75-69, 6-point advantage for the visitors. 1 quarter of regulation left to play. 4th quarter, right around the corner. We'll be back. V. Myrick's will inbound for the Charlottetown Power here to get us going in this fourth quarter. The visitors from Charlottetown up by 6, 75-69. Hinton from about 9 feet. Smooth looking jump shot goes for the young man, Zach Hinton. So the Truro Tide now down by 8. Work to do in this fourth quarter. Benford, baseline, kicks it out. Gonzalez from the corner, off the inside of the rim, and Myrick's doesn't have any numbers, waits for his teammates to catch up, hands it to Taliaferro, swings it back to Myrick's, has to grab it with the fingertips to keep it from going into the backcourt. Myrick's, 10 on the shot clock, trying to work with it as Hinton, lost it, good work by Benford, feeds it to Gibson, and Gibson flushes it down for a deuce. Good defense by Benford and good eyes to spot Gibson breaking away, and found Gibson with the outlet and Gibson with the finish. Cradling that ball now. That was number 29, Jordan Holness. And then the finish for the Power. Power trying to win 2 in a row against the formerly undefeated Tide. Benford loads and fires. Everybody trying to grab that rebound. Miller and Taliaferro were in there. That ball caught all in one motion by Stanford. Then he hands it off to Hinton, who gets it to Taliaferro. Just inside the elbow, the jump shot from 18 feet is good. As Marcellus Taliaferro now heating it up for the Power. Double-digit lead, the first one we've had, and it belongs to the visitors. The Charlottetown Power up by 10. Gonzalez into the paint, dishes to the corner. Gibson being watched closely there by Stanford. 6 on the shot clock. Gibson, baseline, takes it up against Taliaferro and off the glass and in. Great work there by Q Gibson. Truro now needs some stops. This fourth quarter will go way too quickly if you're a Tide fan or a Tide player. Myrick's kind of got horse tackled there, and Myrick saying that, but good solid defense from Benford just kind of got in the way of Myrick's, and then Myrick's underneath the pressure from Benford traveled. So Benford turning up the defensive intensity here for the Tide in this fourth quarter. And the Tide are going to need defense. Stops and buckets, that's the recipe. Just early on in this fourth quarter, Benford gets some help now from Shaq Locke, hands it to Locke. Now Cathcart just inside the arc, from the elbow just outside. And Miller couldn't get the range, rebounded by the Power. They'll move it quickly. Myrick's turns his back to the defense. He'll run back toward midcourt. Myrick's hands it off there, gets it to Stanford. Stanford sweeps it over. Taliaferro leaning in between 2 defenders and wiggles the fingers and says, hey, I can split the D and do a little finger roll action. And he did just that. Back to a double-digit lead, 83-73. Charlottetown Power feeling it here. Q Gibson takes it off to his left, leans in, hands it off to Miller, and Miller leans in over top of the basket. And he got up there and almost just had to lay it into the basket. Almost eye level with the rim was the big man, Khalil Miller. Now Holness trying to be trapped there by Cathcart. Stanford gets the little give and go with Taliaferro, but it didn't quite connect as Taliaferro scooped it over top of the defense. Stanford couldn't quite corral it, and it goes out of play. So turnover, chance now for the Tide to chip away at that lead a little more. Here's Benford. Benford being watched by Myrick's. Benford jogs off to his right. On that right wing, Benford bounces it down low. Garrick Young trying to back down Taliaferro, goes underneath Taliaferro, and then Hinton comes over and swats it away. So Garrick Young working hard, going against a couple of big defenders there. First Taliaferro, and then Zach Hinton. 11 on the shot clock. Gibson thought about the shot. He'll back away now to the sideline. Too strong, long rebound right to Taliaferro, who scoops it to Hinton, takes it all the way, lays it in for 2. Great transition bucket there by the Power. Once again, the lead at 10. Gibson tried to feed it over to Benford, turned over. Hinton, he's got Myrick's with him. Hinton goes up high, took the contact from Shaq Locke. Hinton down to the deck, and he'll go to the line, hopefully, if he's able to get up here. Well, he looks to be fine. So again, the transition from the Power turning defense quickly to offense. Hinton took it in strong against Shaq Locke. Couldn't get the bucket to go for him, but he draws the contact. Foul on Locke, and it's going to be Zach Hinton to the line. Looking to add to this 10-point lead. Unfamiliar territory here for the Truro Tide, not only trailing by double digits late, but also being this far away from 100 points this late in the game. The Truro Tide were held to 97 in Charlottetown yesterday, and right now at 75. Not the usual offensive output we're used to seeing as Hinton hits the back end. Again, worth mentioning, two key members of this Tide squad not in the lineup, Tyrone Watson and Tyler Scott in sweatsuits on the sideline today, but you got to have that next player up mentality. All teams go through it. Here's Cathcart, 6 on the shot clock. Cathcart steps back off the front of the rim. Great job getting the tap back rebound. Garrick Young to Benford. Young tried to go around Taliaferro. Taliaferro stays with it, and the ball goes out of bounds. And again, the Charlottetown Power, speaking of defensive intensity, they've really turned up the defense here. 87-75, 12 points the lead now for the Power. Here's Holness calling for Taliaferro to come over. Screen from Taliaferro. Benford stayed on him. Good defense from AB, and then Cathcart. Garrick Young hammers it down. Fly, young man, fly. Garrick Young takes the feed, drains it, hammers it, windmills it, whatever you want to call it. It gets the fans out of their seats, and that could be just that little spark that the fans need to get back into the cheering side of things, but also to lift up his teammates. I've referenced it before. If anyone can fly high and hammer it down, it's Garrick Young. Great feed from Cathcart, and there you see it, the two-handed slam. Phi Slamma-Jamma for number 31, Garrick Young. 87-77, 10 points, the lead for the Power, who are playing an excellent road game here this afternoon in Truro. Both teams on their respective sidelines, going through chalk talk, as it were. Lonnie States talking to his Charlottetown Power side. Pat Havard talking to his Truro Tide side. I'll step aside for a sec, but not for too long, just to give the old vocal cords a rest. We'll be back. 87-77, Charlottetown in front. Myricks inbounds the ball for Charlottetown. The road team leading by 10 here, getting close to the halfway mark of this fourth quarter. Charlottetown handed Truro their first loss over in PEI yesterday, looking to make it 2 in a row here against the Tide. Holness from the sideline, almost to the corner. That went to the inside of the rim. Good job boxing out there by the Tide. Shaq Locke puts on the brakes, gives it to Buckner. Buckner being watched by Holness. Buckner puts it on the floor, tried to feed Cathcart. Getting in the way there was Taliaferro, and then Taliaferro gets tangled up with DQ Cathcart, who is on the floor now as the fans here hold their breath. As DQ Cathcart, a key member of this Tide team, certainly from an energy and spark plug standpoint, you never want to see anybody get hurt. But certainly a collective gasp went up from the crowd here when Cathcart got tangled up with Taliaferro and then went down, and that's great to see. He's going to head to the bench for a minute and I'm sure just check things out. But great to see Cathcart get up under his own power, and he'll head out to the sideline. And meanwhile, Nico Abeda will come in to spell Cathcart, at least for a couple seconds here. If he's able to come back in, I'm sure Coach Pat Havard will get DQ back in there as quickly as possible. 10-point lead here for the Charlottetown Power. And we'll wait to see what the call is here. So Jen McKenzie and Paul Hansen talking things over here, making sure that they get it right, and that's what you like to see. You don't want to, just have a call made without any conferring to make sure that everybody on the same page here. So now McKenzie walks back to the Truro Tide sideline by the end line where Osavian Buckner waiting for it, and now Paul Hansen delivered a message to the timekeeping table. So Lonnie States kind of looking back and forth as well. We'll see now if they make a call here in the gym to see exactly what the call was, because again, the two of the officials, Paul Hansen and Jim McKenzie, came together. So not seeing anybody making any kind of announcement from the table, and no one's coming over to fill me in, so we'll just say that there's 6:34 to go, and it's tied ball down by 10. Here's Nico Abeda. Baseline, little handoff to Young, and good hands and good anticipation by Holness. Up to Myricks, and the open floor, easy lay-in. And Myricks adds 2 more to the lead. J.P. Gonzalez up high now. Tried to feed Abeda along the sideline. And Myricks last touched it, just got a fingernail on it. So great news if you're a Tide fan, and certainly for the Tide bench. DQ Cathcart back into the game. So Nico Abeda in there for a second, allowing his teammate to check things over, make sure he's good to go. Benford to inbound, gets it to Cathcart. DQ Cathcart directing traffic. Just a couple of seconds now from the halfway point of this fourth quarter. Cathcart into the paint, stops, pops, bangs it in, and kind of grimaces back and hobbling up the floor. DQ Cathcart seems to be favoring that left leg, but he's gutting it out right now for his team. 10 points the lead. Here's Hinton. Takes it in strong against Young, steps back along the baseline. Rebound bounces high into the air and right into the hands of that man, DQ Cathcart. Cathcart backs into the defender, leans in, lifts it up. Rebound was tapped there for a second by Benford, but it's Hinton who comes away. Hinton goes into Young, couldn't get the lay-in, tap back chances there, and Holness goes to himself, then behind the back. So good effort by Holness. 5 on the shot clock. Stanford in the corner, trapped, releasing his Hinton, and off the rebound catch as the shot clock expires. So a lot of time taken off the clock. So even though the Power didn't get points on that possession, they basically used the full shot clock, and that's important because that's taking valuable seconds off of the game clock. Getting close to 5 minutes to play. The more time that comes off the clock, the less offensive possession opportunities for the Tide. Here's Buckner. Oso Buckner gets it to Cathcart up high, being watched by Stanford. Buckner, now Myricks on him. Buckner steps into the paint, lifts it up. He'll go to the line to shoot 2 as DQ Cathcart working hard, taking that ball into the paint, getting the shot up, and then taking the contact. So Taliaferro picks up the foul. So Cathcart to the line. All important free throws here down the stretch. 4:53 to go. Power by 10, make it Power by 9. DQ Cathcart, Humber College product. Gutting it out here in the last couple of minutes. Couldn't get that second one to go for him. So now Power on offense. Tide looking to lock it up on defense. Myricks fake the pass, dribbles it in, then backs away. Again, Power no, they want to take time off the shot clock, and Myricks right toward the basket and gets the friendly roll. 2 more for Myricks, 2 more for the Power, lead up to 11. 4:27 to go. Armand Benford gets the ball, cuts inside, takes the contact, and they're going to call block on the Power as Benford went in. The defender for Charlottetown didn't have position. Benford went up over top of Zach Hinton, and Hinton just underneath the cylinder gets tagged for the block, and Benford will go to the line. Again, more important free throws. And it looks like we need, the referees anyway, want the power bench, or at least a couple of the players, to maybe not be as close to the sideline as they are. Kind of wanting them to back away a little and at least have a seat perhaps. But this is an emotional game, and again, it's an emotional game at the best of times when you're just playing an opponent for the first time in however long. But when you have a situation, as we see Benford at the line, can't rattle in the first. When you have a situation where there's two competitive teams who just played less than 24 hours ago, and one team, the Truro Tide, had their 9-game winning streak in their undefeated season erased with a Charlottetown win. You turn around, you play them the next day. Emotion's gonna be high. That's just the way it is. All in the heat of competition. Benford hits the second. 10-point lead for Charlottetown. Myrick's little handoff to Holness. Holness tries to push off AB. Benford, good defense there. Myrick's with the ball. 10 on the shot clock. Screen coming from Hinton. Myrick sees the opening. Too strong, and the rebound goes right into the hands of Benford. Armand Benford trying to go coast to coast, takes it to the baseline, and Holness stripped it away. Good defense there by Jordan Holness. Holness now has Garrick Young right on top of him. Holness trying to push off the defender and make his way to the basket, and he was able to get into the act of shooting, and then the contact from Young gets called. So I believe that's number 5. So personal foul number 5 on Garrick Young as he tiptoes that tightrope of fouling out. And it'll be number 29, Jordan Holness, to the line. Holness from Toronto, Ontario, hits the first. Free throws always take on a bigger magnitude late in games, especially when you're the road team, add to your double-digit lead. Holness, 2 for 2. Leaves that hand hanging out there for an extra second just to put an exclamation point on the fact that he went 2 for 2 on that trip. Benford gets it to Buckner. Buckner to Shaq Locke. Locke goes back up high to Garrick Young. Young turns his back to the defense, gets out to Cathcart. 10 on the shot clock. Young, bit of a screen there. Cathcart in a crowd, steps back, lets it go. Couldn't get it to go for him. Right back the other way now. Here's Holness into the defense. Holness tried to scoop it up with DQ. Cathcart coming over top. Shots just not falling right now for the Truro Tide. They're getting their looks, but some of those shots just not falling. And I spoke with a couple of Tide players during warm-ups prior to this game, and not that it was the main reason, but they both commented that they just they didn't have a normal Truro shooting day yesterday. And while I don't have field goal percentages in my hand in front of me, just from what I've seen, Truro has not been hitting from the floor at the pace that they usually do. But that's not to take anything away, as we see Holness hit the shot. That's not to take anything away, though, from the energy, intensity, and defense that this Charlottetown Power team has brought here to Truro this afternoon. The Charlottetown Power have played an excellent road game. Benford feeds it to Gibson. Over to Cathcart, being watched by Hinton. Locke screens on Hinton. Shot, high rebound. Locke couldn't grab it. And the Power come away with it again. Talia Farrow tried for the windmill highlight reel dunk and just couldn't get it home. Trying to put on a show here for the fans in attendance and for those of you watching via the Maritime Athletics Profile live stream. That would have been a highlight to clip for sure had he been able to put it down through the cylinder. However, it still remains a 14-point bulge for the Power. 2:42 to go. Gibson takes it into the paint, dishes to the corner. Buckner, smooth stroke, rolls across the top of the basket, and then it goes out of play. A couple of players down to the deck, and I think it's going to be Truro ball. Lots of bumps and bruises after this one, no doubt about it. But it has been, for the most part, a clean and physical game. No chippiness really to speak of. Intensity, physicality. Miller under the basket. Won't go for him, and look at Myrick's digging after that rebound. Takes it all the way himself. Good defense from Buckner hindering the shot. Myrick's gets it right back, throws it up high to Holness. 14 on the shot clock. Holness backs away. Power in no rush at all. Now Holness takes it in. Tried to go around Benford. Now Hinton floats it up. No good. Miller got a hand on the rebound, and now DQ Cathcart will have the easy bunny for the deuce. So 2 minutes to play. 12-point lead. Charlottetown Power. Again, they'll just be methodical. They're going to want to drain their possession shot clock. Just take time off of the game clock. Here's Holness behind the back. Cheeky little move there. Tried to put it up against Benford, and that wouldn't go. But again, Jordan Holness has had himself a pretty dandy game here this afternoon, as has KV Marks. Well, he can go up and down the lineup for Charlottetown. They've gotten great effort right across the board. So with 1:44 to go, timeout on the floor. The Charlottetown Power looking for a weekend sweep here against the previously undefeated Truro Tide. 95-83 Power up by 12 on the road. 1:44 to go. Timeout on the floor. We'll be back. While we have a look at some of the highlights from the game and get ready for the teams to come back onto the floor for the final 1:44 regulation, I want to give a big shout out to what I consider to be the biggest superfan of the Truro Tide. And I've nicknamed her Superfan Simone. She is energetic. She loves basketball. She loves coming to these Truro Tide games. And whenever there's a game, she's on her Facebook page. She's telling people when the next game is. She's posting links to be able to buy tickets. She shows up here at the gym. She's usually got some friends with her. And she's just, what I've seen so far, lots of great fans here. But to me, she seems to be, from my humble opinion, the biggest fan of the Truro Tide. And that's great. So super fan Simone, keep doing what you do. The Tide and the league appreciate it. And you know what? It's great to see. It's great to see the fans with that kind of energy. So be like superfan Simone. 1:37 to go. Cathcart with the ball. Q Gibson steps back, launches it. Triple for Gibson. And the Tide have been looking for that for a while, and they found it from the stroke of Gibson right there for three. Now, Tide trying to push the issue while the Power take their time, and that'll help. So there's a turnover. So let's go now. If you're a Tide player and a Tide fan, you got to stop. Now, quickly get it up the floor, get a bucket, get it inside double digits. Oso Buckner lost the handle for a minute. Hinton comes out to challenge. Bouncing it to Benford. Down into the paint, hands it off. Gibson again, same spot, same result. Q Gibson with a three ball, and the lead now is 8. Not out of reach yet. Benford, tough defense. Myrick's trying to work around it. 12 on the shot clock. Tide need the stop. Trying to make a late push here. Holness being watched closely. Gibson, he's hit the last 2 shots and both triples. There's a stop. Now quickly in transition. Cathcart to Buckner. He stops and lets it fly. Oh, so Buckner. Oh, so good from downtown. And timeout called by the coach of the Power. Lonnie States doesn't like what he's seeing. It's a 5-point game. All of a sudden, the Tide trying to wash over the gym here and get back into this one. 36.6 to go. Timeout on the floor. Tide making a push. We'll be back. 36.6 to go. Just a minute or so ago with a double-digit lead, 14 points, not that long ago, a 14-point lead for the Power. You wondered what the Tide could do to pull a rabbit out of the hat here, but with 36.6 to go and a run of points, including 3 consecutive triples, 2 by Q Gibson, 1 by Oso Buckner, it's a 2-possession game, 35 to go, pressure now. Full court press, Myrick's in a crowd. What's the call? They're going to call jump ball as Myrick's got in the middle, and the possession arrow is with the Tide. What a turn of events here. 31.1 to go. Tide ball. Benford to inbound. Benford wants to get it in, finds Buckner. He hit a 3 moments ago. Buckner up high to Gibson. Gibson steps back, launches just off the mark. Buckner is there. Had it, put it up, lays it in. 1 possession game. Look at Buckner. He steals it away. Benford to Gibson. Stop, pops. Benford for the tie. Can you believe it? Oh my, the crowd has gone wild here at the CEC gym. What an effort by the Truro Tide. Down the stretch, they have tied the game. Unbelievable. Let's look at it here. The defense turning it into offense. Q Gibson stops and drains it all in one motion. The catch and shoot and the triple, and we're tied. What more could you ask for on a Sunday afternoon in Truro? Unbelievable effort here down the stretch by the Truro Tide, hanging their hat on that tough defense, getting stops, forcing turnovers, and the important thing, the most important thing, converting the stops into points. And it's been from outside the arc. All of a sudden, Truro has found their shooting stroke from outside. Q Gibson with 3 triples in the last few minutes. Oso Buckner with a triple and a great catch and putback off the Gibson 3-ball attempt miss. It's just the ingredients for the most improbable of finishes. 16.9 to go, and suddenly what was a fairly quiet gym here for the majority of this fourth quarter has come alive. Chance of defense, and it's been defense that has gotten Truro back into this, along with some red-hot shooting. Now, the Truro Tide, 16.9 to go. Coach Lonnie States taking an extra long amount of time, and why not? Make sure you get every ounce of time out of that timeout. 97 all. Marcellus Taliaferro to inbound. Khalil Miller with that big wingspan will come over to defend the inbound. A heavy crowd gathered into the paint. It looks like a crowded Metro subway in Montreal on a Friday night. Look at Miller! Got hands on it though, but Hinton gets it back. And now we're gonna have a call here as Khalil Miller almost forced the turnover on that inbound, but the Power, full credit, they stayed with it, got the ball back, and then Adam Stanford down to the deck. Stanford kind of hands on his thighs, leaned over, taking a couple extra deep breaths. Now he's going to tie the shoe to get a little extra breath. Meanwhile, Armand Benford. So here we are, 14 seconds left in the fourth quarter of a tie game with all kinds of tension in the building, and out comes Armand Benford to swiffer up the floor to make sure that it's not slippery. What more could you ask for from a player from the Truro Tide? 14 seconds tie game, tied on a run. Benford helping out with a little floor work. Same thing again now, Taliaferro to inbound. Miller tries to hound it, they get it to Stanford. 10 seconds in the game. Stanford trying to get the last shot. Stanford into a crowd, lost it, out of bounds. Truro ball, 5.0 showing on the game clock, and the Tide will have possession. Great defense again from Truro. That's what it's been here the last few minutes of this fourth quarter. Yes, they needed the shooting, but it's been the defensive intensity that has turned the tide for the Tide. Timeout on the floor. They want to talk it over. I'll step aside for just a minute, have a little drink of water, and come back for this Tide possession with 5 seconds to go and a chance to win the game in what I would say very improbable fashion. We'll be back. So both teams coming out of the timeout. Truro ball, 5 seconds to go. They'll get it in the offensive side of the court. So what has Coach Pat Havard drawn up here? Sometimes the play you draw up works. Sometimes you got to go off script. Q Gibson to inbound. Gibson inbounds it to Miller. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Benford, 1 second, leads it, can't get the shot away, and we are going to overtime. And why would you want it any other way? It's kind of fitting that this game is going to overtime. Truro had the chance. We see it here. Miller got it into the hands of Benford, took it in. Good defense there by the Power. Couple of Power defenders in position, sticking their ground, hands up, hindering the shot attempt. So it's the Power defense who makes a difference in that last position, and we are going to overtime. And let's be frank, my friends, if we had said that this game was going to overtime with about 4 or 5 minutes left in this fourth quarter, you probably would have thought that I was drinking something more than my sparkling water. However, how many times do you ever hear basketball is a game of runs? And my goodness, it certainly is. I've been watching basketball a long time. I've been doing play-by-play for basketball a long time, and it never ceases to amaze me how a team can go on a 14, 15, 16, whatever point run and get back into games, pull away from games. In this particular case, a double-digit lead late in the fourth quarter by the Charlottetown Power, and it was a run, plain and simple, by the Truro Tide. It started with defense. They found their shooting stroke at just the right time. Q Gibson hitting a couple of triples. Oso Buckner hitting a triple, getting that big putback underneath the basket off of the Q Gibson 3-ball miss. And here we are, just about set for overtime. So 97-97, overtime starting in just a second. We'll step aside for a minute. I'm going to take another drink of, yes, my sparkling water. And we'll be back with the overtime in just a minute. Here we go, overtime on a Sunday in Truro. 97 all as we begin the 5-minute overtime. Here's Hinton with the jump shot off the mark. DQ Cathcart rebounds it. Here come the Tide. Benford up to DQ Cathcart. So 5 minutes of overtime. Each team gets one timeout, and the team fouls stay the same, which right now 5 team fouls for Truro, 3 for Charlottetown. And Myrick's almost knocked that away, and then it'll go out of bounds. Last touched by the Tide but just 6 seconds to go on the shot clock. Well, what a finish in this one. Hope you're enjoying it wherever you're tuned in on Maritime Athletic Profiles live stream. Buckner launches, that's off the mark, and Myrick's getting tangled up there, and they're going to call a shot clock violation, so the shot clock expired just prior to Buckner letting that shot go. So we haven't had a bucket yet in this overtime, but we've only played 37 seconds. So still waiting for things to get set up. Now we're underway. Zach Hinton will roll it up. Now it's picked up by KV Myrick's. Myrick's looking right at Benford. Dishes off there for Stanford. He's had a great game, Stanford. Dishes. Handed off by Anderson to Hinton. Hinton, spin move against Miller, leans back, puts it up. Over top of the basket, right into the hands of Q Gibson. Gibson jogs it up the floor, takes it right into Anderson. Gibson from the baseline, lifts with one hand like the Statue of Liberty and puts it home. Stanford right back the other way from downtown, and Stanford, money for three. Big bucket right there for number 5, Adam Stanford, and the power. 199. Benford gets it into Gibson, being watched by Myrick's. Gibson tried to take it baseline, and they're going to say it went off of the leg of Q Gibson. At least that's the indication that referee Paul Hansen gave. So it'll be power ball off that out-of-bounds play. 3:30 to go. Overtime period, 199. 1 point lead for Charlottetown. A feverish pace down the final few minutes for Truro to tie. There's Hinton taking the nice feed and calmly laying it off the glass. Good look there from the power. Nice finish from Hinton. Now on offense is Benford to Q Gibson. He'll go baseline again. Gibson to Buckner, leans into it. He'll take the contact. Hoop, Herm, foul line. Here we go. Oh, so Buckner. Great move by Buckner down low. See it right there, leaning in, rolling in the shot, taking the contact, heading to the line with a chance to tie. Oh, so Buckner. Looking to complete the three-point play, knocks it in. The fans love it. The Truro bench loves it. And we're back to a tie, 102-102. Here's Hinton. Stepping there just outside the arc on the left wing. Now they'll go back up high. KV Myrick's. Myrick's being watched there by Benford. Myrick's now goes to the right wing. Dishes up high. Stanford from outside. Too strong, long rebound right into the hands of Q Gibson. Gibson brings it up the floor, eyeing the floor. Look at this, Buckner wanted it. Oh, the fans wanted it too, and just couldn't get it to go off the iron and down. Rebounded now by the power, back up the other way, 2.5 to go. We are still tied, 102-102. Myrick's cutting in through the paint, 3 defenders on him. Great defense underneath as Hinton took the feed but couldn't get the put home. And now Benford will bring it up the floor. 2:11 to go. Armand Benford, AB from Chicago, Illinois, the Windy City in the windy town of Truro. Benford feeds it to Buckner, a little touch to Cathcart. 5 on the shot clock. DQ Cathcart steps back against Myrick's. Too strong, long rebound, fresh shot clock. Now it's Q Gibson from the elbow. Smooth jumper is good for 2 out of the hands of Q Gibson. The St. Mary's University Husky dogs one in there for his new team, the Truro Tide. 1:47 to go. The fans really into it now. You'd swear we were in an arena of 10,000 with the noise that their fans are making. Great ball game here. Glad you're with us. Hinton takes it against Gibson. Tried to feed it there to Taliaferro. Last touch by the power, and it'll be tied ball with 1:33 to go. Timeout on the floor. Honestly, the tension in this building is as thick as a spring morning fog in Colchester County. What an atmosphere on a Sunday afternoon. The Charlottetown Power on the road playing so well. The game, for the most part, was either tied or a one-possession game for the majority of it. And then the Power just kind of found their rhythm and opened up a double-digit lead, and it really looked like they were going to be home and cooled as we got beyond the halfway mark of that fourth quarter. But the Truro Tide, they called a timeout. They came out and they just put the defensive clamps on, really tightened up defensively, got some stops, forced some turnovers. And the key again, I mentioned it earlier, but it's worth mentioning one more time, it was being able to convert those stops and those turnovers into points. And for the most part, they did it on the strength of the three-ball triples, really quickly pulled the Tide back into the game, and then their defense kind of did the rest. And here we are. I'm sure the Charlottetown Power probably thought that they were hopping on the bus with a weekend sweep, but the Tide, playing Tide basketball the last several minutes of that fourth quarter, tied it up at 99-all, and here we are with 1:33 to go in the overtime period. 104-102, two-point Tide lead, and Tide with possession. Myrick's tried to reach in to get the turnover. Now it's Oso Buckner being watched by Hinton. Buckner goes down, cradles the ball. Good job there. Cathcart has it, 10 on the shot clock. Cathcart takes it down through three defenders. D.Q. Cathcart. What an effort, cutting right down the lane in between three defenders, and he draws the foul. So the foul goes on Hinton. By my count, that's 3. But the important thing is it's going to send D.Q. Cathcart to the line. If he hits both, it's a 2-possession game. Now, talk about important free throws. Cathcart knows it. Sets now as a hush falls over the building. And he can't hit the first. Could hear the fans react behind me. Cathcart leans over. Miller and Benford both come over to say, all right, DQ, that's all right. That's in the past. Let's hit this one. Cathcart again, staring at that rim. And launches and hits. And almost a major, I could feel almost the exhale out of DQ Cathcart over here on the sideline as he hit the second. So the 1-for-2 trip makes it a 3-point game. So if you're the Tide, get a stop, or at the very least, don't allow a 3. 1:05 to go. Look at Myrick's. He's been so good here this afternoon, as has Stanford, being watched by Buckner. 8 on the shot clock. Stanford to McCauley, and they're going to say he stepped out, so the PEI native, Jack McCauley, had a chance from the corner right in front of the crowd on those bleachers. And it's Tide ball. Under a minute to play, 3-point lead for Truro. Armand Bedford with ball in hand, being watched by Myrick's. Benford, nice little play to go behind the back, gets it to Q Gibson. Buckner from the elbow. Buckner, dribble penetration, takes it in strong. Buckner dishes back outside. 5 on the shot clock. Cathcart steps back, baseline, rainbow shot. Benford taps the rebound. It'll go just out of bounds. So it'll be Charlottetown Power ball, down by 3. 31.2 to go. So it'll be inbounded by Adam Stanford. Again, if you're Truro, get a stop, or at the very least, defend the 3. A 2-point bucket, you're still in the lead. 31.2 to go. Myrick, smart play, just letting it roll up, saving time. Now, puts on the speed. Myrick's going against Benford, now against Miller. Myrick's, and look at Khalil Miller using every inch of that reach, getting a fingertip to block that ball. Now Benford up ahead to Gibson, and they're going to call the foul in the open floor, and it's going to send Truro to the line. Or no, excuse me, that's not a shooting foul. I thought Truro was in the bonus. They're not. But it'll be Truro possession. Shot clock is off. 16.6 to go in the OT. Benford's got to get it in. And a great job by Buckner to call for it, and another foul. So it's the Hackatide right now, and that's the only thing that the Power can do. So 15.4 to go. So that's number 6 on McCauley. He's fouled out. So Osavian Buckner on the line, shooting free throws, looking to make it a 2-possession game. He needs at least 1. Now the Tide are in the bonus. Buckner rolls it. Oh, the crowd, a collective groan as that one bounced, and then didn't drop. Back end huge here for Buckner and the Tide. Everybody on deck. Buckner hits the second, and the crowd lets you know that was big. 15 seconds to go, no shot clock. 2-possession game. Myrick's, don't foul. Open path to the bucket. Truro just let him go. Now Charlottetown has to turn on the defense. They need the stop. Now they're going to foul. You knew that was coming. 8.9 to go. Second by second here. It's like that old song from the Doobie Brothers. Minute by minute by minute by minute, I keep holding on. Sorry that you had to be subjected to my singing, but I had to. But instead of minute by minute, it is second by second, 10th of a second.
Athletic Profiles YouTube channel for all of the things that they're covering. Once again, your final here in Truro, 108-106. Truro Tide get the win. They're now 10-1, and they'll have more games coming up soon. So Buckner hit one, you got another one. You were getting the stops, getting the points. What were you guys saying to one another on the floor, and what was being talked about on the bench as you started to get back into this game?
We just talked about fight the whole game, but really emphasized it in the fourth quarter. And we just had to fight and keep playing until the clock hit zeros. And like I said, everything just went our way.
Sometimes you'll hear teams talk about how difficult it can be to flip a switch and all of a sudden play great defense or start playing electrifying offense. But what changed that really turned up the defensive intensity for you guys down the stretch that forced those stops and allowed you to get back into it?
Well, I think, first of all, we wanted to protect home court. That was a big thing, but we didn't want these guys to beat us 2 times in a row, so we had to bounce back, and that's what we did.
You're from Nassau in the Bahamas. You played your university ball at St. Mary's University in Halifax, played 4 years for the Huskies. And your line today, Q, 35 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. How's that sound?
Sounds like a pretty well overall game.
Last thing for you, this team had a tough loss yesterday. What was the mindset coming into this one, besides protecting home court, but knowing that you were going to play the same team that just defeated you yesterday?
I think they caught us off guard yesterday. We're down a couple guys, and then we just zoned in from yesterday. We know what we need to do today, and we did it.
Q, congratulations on an electrifying win. I know the fans here loved it. The fans watching on the live stream loved it.
Yeah.
So congratulations. We'll see you in a few days.
Yep, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
That is Q Gibson again. What a night for Q. 35 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. And his 3 balls down the stretch really helped pull Truro back into this game. But they hung their head on the defense. They got the stops and the turnovers when they needed it. And they come out of here. They do protect home court. 106-108, a fantastic game. Thanks to everybody that was on us, with us on our broadcast tonight. Interviews at the halftime, coaches pregame, of course Q just now postgame. And thank you for tuning in once again to the Maritime Athletic Profiles live stream. It's been great to bring it to you. We'll be back again with more action. Just check out the Maritime Athletic Profiles YouTube channel for all of the things that they're covering. Once again, your final here in Truro, 108-106. Truro Tide get the win. They're now 10-1, and they'll have more games coming up soon. Don't want to miss it. On behalf of our Maritime Athletic Profiles team, I'm Scott Squires. Thanks for tuning in. So long from Truro.
Look at Buckner. He steals it away. Benford to Gibson. Stop. Pop. Benford for the tie. Can you believe it? All on a Friday night. Look at Miller. Got hands on it though, but Hinton gets it back. And now we're going to have a call here as Khalil Miller almost forced the inbounds it to Miller. 4 seconds. 3 seconds. Benford, 1 second, leads it, can't get the shot off of the basket, right into the hands of Q Gibson. Gibson jogs it up the floor, takes it right into Anderson. Gibson from the baseline, lifts with one hand like the Statue of Liberty and puts it home. Stanford right back the other way from downtown. Charlottetown. A feverish pace down the final few minutes for Truro to tie. There's Hinton. Now on offense is Benford to Q Gibson. He'll go baseline again. Gibson to Buckner, leans into it. He'll take back against Myrick's. Too strong, long rebound, fresh shot clock. Now it's Q Gibson from the elbow. Smooth move. The ball, good job there. Cathcart has it, 10 on the shot clock. Cathcart takes it down through 3 defenders on the shot clock. Stanford to McCauley, and they're going to say he stepped out, so the PEI needed a play, just letting it roll up, saving time. Now, puts on the speed, Myricks. Going against Benford, now against Miller. Myricks, and look at Khalil Miller.